Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about the signs of the 6 trigonometric functions in a given quadrant. Okay, so either quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, and quad 4. So first, we're going to talk about how it's defined in the unit circle. The sine of theta is equal to y. The cosine of theta is equal to x. The tangent is the opposite over the hypotenuse, so that's the y over the x, slope, rise over run. Okay, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so that's 1 over y. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so that's 1 over x. And then cotangent is a reciprocal of tangent, so that's x over y. Okay? So those are how those are defined, as long as y is not equal to 0, x is not equal to 0 here, and then y is not equal to 0 here, and x is not equal to 0 there. Okay? Now, looking at a graph, okay, so a Cartesian plane, x, y. Okay, on this side, we have x's that are positive. On this side, we have x's that are negative. Okay, so I'm going to do blue for negative, red for positive. Okay, so red, positive here. These are my y's are greater than 0. And my y's down here are less than 0. Those are my negatives. Okay, so what do we do here? Well, in the first quadrant, Q1, so Q1, we have Q1, and then over here we have Q2. Over here, down here, we have Q3, and then last we have Q4. Okay, so in Q1, both are positive. Both the x and the y value are positive. So we have all functions positive. Okay, so all are positive here. All 6 are positive. All right. In Q2, what do we have? We have x negative and y positive. Okay, so what does that tell me? Well, anything that has an x is negative. Anything that has a y is positive. So let's look at the positives. Okay, so sine is positive. Okay, it's greater than 0. And then cosecant is positive. Since y is positive, then 1 over y is positive too. So what do we know? We have sine theta greater than 0, but also the reciprocal cosecant theta is greater than 0. Okay? All the others are negative. Okay? So anything that has x values in it are negative. So which ones have x's in them? You've got secant, cosine, tangent, and cotangent. Those are all negatives in the second quadrant. Okay? So all others are negative. All right, now down here, both the x and the y values are negative. Okay, so both the x and the y values are negative. So if both the x and the y values are negative, all right, what's going to go on here? So x is negative, okay? Y is negative. So all of those are negative. But if I have a negative number divided by a negative number, what do I get? I get a positive, don't I? So down here, the tangent of theta is greater than 0, and also a negative divided by a negative here is a positive again. So the cotangent of theta is greater than 0. Okay? All others negative. Right? Now, this last quadrant, quadrant 4, so quadrant 4 here, let me get rid of that real quick. Quadrant 4, what do we have? X is positive, y is negative. So if y is negative, that means this is less than 0, and the reciprocal is less than 0. And then a negative divided by a positive number gets me a negative, so that's less than 0, and this is less than 0. So what's the only thing positive here? The cosine of theta. Okay, cosine of theta, but also the reciprocal of cosine. Remember, those reciprocals kind of go together. The sine and the cosecant, the tangent, the cotangent, the cosine and the secant theta are the positive ones. All others are negative, okay? So how are you going to remember this? Because, it is kind of a lot, and it's a little complicated to remember. So here's a little trick, and it's goofy, okay? It's goofy, but I'm telling you, 10 years after I heard the trick, I still remember it. Here's the trick. All students take calculus. Okay? All students take calculus. Now, what's going on here? A stands for all trig values positive. S is for sine positive. But if you know that sine is positive, then that means the reciprocal cosecant is positive. Okay? Take, T is for tangent, tangent theta. And same thing, if you know if tangent theta has a positive, then the cotangent also is positive. And then calculus, C stands for cosine, cosine theta, and then its reciprocal secant theta are both positive. Okay? So A is for all students. That's for S, which is sine, and then take, T is for tangent, and C is for calculus, for cosine. Okay, so hopefully, that helps you out when you start working through problems. You might be asked to determine which quadrant the angle falls in. Okay, so they might tell you, they might say, hey, if sine of theta is less than 0 and cosine theta is less than 0, name the quadrant in which the angle theta lies. Okay? So if sine theta and cosine theta are less than 0, where do we have to be? Well, we can't be in the first one because all are positive. We can't be in the second one because sine is positive there, and we're given sine is negative here. And we can't be in the calculus one where it's cosine because cosine is negative here. It's not positive. So what do we have to be in? We got to be in Q3. Okay, so that's how you kind of run through the game here. So quadrant 3 is where theta has to be. Okay, so hopefully, that will help you out as we start to do more complicated problems, and you're given, certain angles, and then you're asked to find what the angle is and where the quadrant where it falls into. All right, guys. Well, good luck with all that. And if you can figure out a better way to remember, great, use it.